Pray for health, buddy. That's it. Just pray for health. And I'm going to pray right here openly on the air, Mr. Grandy, to unlock those lines, because that's all I want to do. I just want to let's just hear from Niner fans all day long. If you want to gloat, if you want to break down the X's and O's, if you just want to let out a primal scream, do it. Do it. What are we doing here? That was the good stuff.
Yeah, wow.
That was like the sports version of sex. Are you kidding me?
Wow. You never go that way.
What the hell what was that? It won by 23 points at the Link. Oh, the terrifying Link. Can I get one rant off about Philadelphia?
I mean, of course.
Just one. Not about the Eagles. It's about Philadelphia. And our mutual friend Tony Bruno has taken me there twice. I have been to 2 games against the Cowboys at the Link. And I told you this last year. I know the experience Bonte and Joe had. That's a different ball of wax. Philadelphia cracks me up how terrifying they think they are. They think they're so terrifying. Oh, you cannot come into the Link. All I know is quarterbacks have been coming in there all year long and torching you. All year. All year long, you big, bad, loud mofos have not stopped one quarterback from doing anything all year long. I will round out last Friday one more time. You are a much, much better version of last year's Minnesota Vikings, and you were bound to get outclassed when it came time to stand on top of the mountain. And so here we are, 42-19.
Yeah, it was a beatdown, even though it was really a 3-quarter beating because the Niners were not good offensively in the first quarter. -6 yards, unable to do anything but go 3 and out. So to go from down 6-0, unable to do anything, to putting up 42 points in 3 quarters, 6 consecutive drives that ended in a touchdown, no pushback, no resistance, and what you did to the crowd by the end of the game, you made those folks go home early.
Yep.
And halfway through the fourth quarter, late in the fourth, that place became empty, other than those fans who showed up in red and gold and black, red and black shirts as well. Pretty good showing by the Niner crowd, and to watch it end in that fashion was pretty fulfilling because all you hear, and you look at all the things on Twitter, and you see people retweeting Philly fan, like, that schoolboy nerd's not going to come in here and beat us.
Oh, that one was so good.
That's great.
We're not losing to this nerd.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you are.
And he's gonna throw it all over you.
Oh, yes, you are. He might clinch the MVP award right on your field.
So this nerd, this ruddy-cheeked, aw shucks, I love Jesus nerd came in and carved you up and vaulted to the top of the MVP race in the process. And I love it. I love Philly fan. You boo your team on the way to the locker room at halftime.
You're down by
Last
8.
year, you started the year 10-1.
Yep.
This year, you started the year 10-1. And you're going to boo your team on the way to the locker room because they dare to trail at halftime?
Well,
it's embarrassing, Mark.
From that fan standpoint, look, it's a lack of education sensation. It was hysterical how played out the trash talk from the fan base got. Because how many times do you see an Eagle fan on social media make a video of him or herself talking about the soft wine and cheese Niners? It's like, my God, first of all, how played out, how old is this stupid narrative as if this 49er team walks around with their pinky in the air? Who on earth has ever watched this 49er defense play and try to pass along the idea that they're not a hard-hitting, physical, talented group?
Well, the fan base itself is not quite wine and cheese any longer. If you've been out to a 49er game, Philly fan, and you go to the tailgates, there's not a lot of white wine being sipped in the parking lots at Levi's.
Yeah.
It's a whole different fan
Much
base.
more
It's a party.
of a red wine people now.
Yeah.
We've graduated.
Big time.
To Pinot Noir.
The Merlots.
Take
all
that.
the rest of it.
Take that for data. Let's go right to the phones. This day is completely about you all, okay? We talked it out earlier. I'm not booking any guests. Guests?
Are we booking flights?
Ooh, we might have to drive.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
It's funny because I've
We'll
already
get there.
had multiple conversations in the building
And
about February travel plans.
VRBO.
I mean, there are things that are, nothing's in the works, but there's some poking around that's going
As
on.
there should be.
Hello?
Pray for health and scene.
Boom.
I'm telling you.
You are now afraid to fly around the country.
Pray for health. That's it. And pray for the Giants' announcements about Shohei and Yamamoto to be at least a week away, because I want to sit with this for a little while. Don't interrupt us, Giants. We in the flow, okay? 888-957-9570. It is about you all, and we're going to start in the great state of Pennsylvania, where Scott was apparently at the game. Hi, Scott. Welcome to the show. What are you doing?
Hey, gentlemen. Happy Victory Monday. Yeah. My son Carson and I, we just got back late last night, and we had about a 5-hour drive over to Philly, but it was so worth it. The link was rocking. They were super loud, and just watching the oxygen just leave that stadium by the hands of Brock Purdy and Debo, that was amazing.
Oof.
I was a little worried at first. That first quarter, some of the initial play calling, not being able to get A.J. Brown on those slants. I was a little worried, but, the red zone defense held up, and then Brock, in the second quarter, he flipped the switch, and it was lights out from there. And the Philly fans, they weren't too bad. Probably because I had my kid with me, but it was just awesome to witness. It was just a hands down butt whooping, and it was just great to see.
Well,
Go Niners.
Good job,
Yeah,
Scott. I
thank
hope
you,
you had a
Scott.
great time. I mean,
And I'm glad that they took it easy on you because you had your kids with you.
Well,
that's a win for humanity.
there's two ways to do it. A, bring your kids with you, and B, just have the lead the whole second half, because the second half is when people get really drunk and then they get really up into their confidence and their peacocking and their feelings, and they're not going to do it. I know there's a lot on the way in, but it's much worse on the way out. It's much worse on the way out if you're down. So, that was a perfect scenario. So let that be a lesson to you. If you're going to go to a game, bring the kids.
If you're going to go to a game, go to a blowout win on the road.
That too.
Is the lesson. Although that thing was rocking in the first quarter.
No doubt.
I was notably concerned.
Were you?
And I tweeted out that Kyle Shanahan's going to have to find something on the laminated play sheet that's going to work, because the opening 6 plays were all epic fails. And he didn't use Christian McCaffrey at all in those first 2 possessions.
Yep.
And it didn't look like early on, and it's an early snap judgment, but the Niner offensive line was having a hell of a time blocking anybody. And Hassan Reddick was running free and looking nasty. And I was thinking, of course, here he comes. Here comes single-digit Reddick about to wreck this game again. Brock Purdy got hit on one throw early. And I was like, oh, no, I was having a little PTSD.
Yeah, but did you see what had to be the magical elixir play? Of all of the plays, and you'll remember, of all of the plays, there was one that stood out as the magical elixir to everything we've been through. Ball gets snapped, shotgun formation, right as George Kittle is in motion. Ball is snapped right in front of him. And where's he heading? Hassan Reddick left unblocked by the offensive line so that Kittle can come across, give him a chip, and then release out into the flat for what turned into a 30-plus yard pass play. It's the play they were trying to run last year that ended Brock's season, and they ran it to perfection, this time with their starting tight end.
Yeah.
They ran it to perfection this time, and it turned into a big gain. And yeah, you could see. I mean, I'm with everybody on this. Every time you play, it's a new scenario and new things play out, and so I don't think it would be 42-19 every time they play. But for those Niners and any fan who walked out of last year and said, I know it was 31-7. But that could have, would have, should have been way different if the Niners had a quarterback. Well, yesterday was for you. Yesterday was for you because that's as close as we're going to get for now to a look at what it would look like. It looked pretty good.
Yeah. And I guess it's hard to go back and
it's totally different
and put those pieces together. And you mentioned already, Javon Hargrave was in green and not in red and gold. And their defense last year, their secondary was much better.
Agreed.
And I don't know if Darius Slay just lost that step overnight. And Bradbury hasn't looked as good as he did last year. And put aside the mistake he made and the PI or the defensive holding in the Super Bowl, he's a good player. The back end of their defense last year was a lot better than it looked yesterday. And maybe you can attribute some of that to 92 plays a week earlier against Buffalo. I thought that it came down to their personnel not being as good, and they lost their will to tackle as well. And the Jawan Jennings play in the second half where he basically catches it along the left sideline and takes his hand and angrily throws the defender over the sideline, and he coasts into the end zone. Debo ran angry when he had it. McCaffrey is so efficient inside and outside whenever he has it. And the way he squeezes the ball and gets small through the hole, and then he gets big when it's time for contact. They were spectacular after that second drive.
Well, and the pass to McCaffrey, a lot of you will remember it down the left sideline, maybe among Brock Purdy's best throws of the day. And apparently that had been set up on the sideline, a little bit of an ad lib that they called on the fly. And so they talked it out on the sideline and then went out and executed it. And that's how you get Brock throwing the ball when Christian's not even looking yet, had not even gone into his double break yet, and then ends up just completely leaving the defense in the dust. It was a clinic.
Yeah.
It was just a complete clinic.
That was genius because it's a choice route, and he normally breaks in or breaks out. And so he staggers, he chops his feet, and then just whoop.
Yep.
I'm not breaking in or out, I'm breaking long. And Brock just floats it. Perfect throw, perfect catch. And after that second drive, they were able to start getting back to what they like to do, which is a lot of horizontal movement, a lot of motion, and they had Philly on its heels.
Yeah, he wasn't breaking in, breaking out. He was breaking bad is what he was doing. Let's go to Oscar in Richmond. Hi, Oscar. What are you doing?
Yo, what's going on, fellas? I'm at work, man. Just listening to the radio, listening to you guys go crazy.
Let's go.
Yeah, man. Hey, bro, what's up with that right tackle jumping every single play on Bosa?
Lane Johnson.
I'm glad you asked that.
Lane Johnson. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, the rule, and I'm not sure if it's an official rule, but the way they call it is you're allowed to move your outside foot slightly ahead of the snap. As long as you don't move your head or your shoulders or your upper body so as to draw the defense, they allow that early outside step for the tackles. You see it across the league.
Is that written or unwritten?
I think it's unwritten.
Unwritten.
I think it's an unwritten rule.
So, yeah, I almost liken this, and it didn't bother me because it didn't matter. It probably would have bothered me.
It bothered our boss.
Yeah, I get
it.
it.
Frame by frame on X.
And by that's why I asked you if it's written or unwritten, because I think by what's written, it's completely not legal.
Right.
But they call it the same way they call delay of game. In other words, that 0 has to flash on the clock, and then the official's head has to turn to the ball.
Correct.
And then, right? So there is a split second that you get to snap it even after 0.
Yeah.
This is kind of similar. It's almost like leg goes, and then I know the eyes are in the exact same spot, but there's a split second there where you do get a tiny bit of a head start.
The other one, too, just real quick, is the tackle in this case, and in many cases, he's not on the line of scrimmage. He's like a half yard off.
Yes.
But they allow that because if you have the tackle all the way up and you don't let him kick step, there'll be a sack on every play.
Well, here's the final analysis for you Niner fans. It didn't work. 48 dropbacks, 46 pressures. Now,
that's the number?
That's the number. Now, part of that is on Jalen because he held the ball forever when he had time. But part of that also is a credit to the Niners, not only their secondary and covering the Eagles receivers, but what I was most impressed with, and this goes to the entire 11, their containment of what Jalen Hurts does when he goes to the second or third option and his ability to either run with the ball or create more time to allow his receivers to get open, the D linemen, the linebackers, and even therefore the DBs, what they do in those situations, restaurant quality. I mean,
nice.
Chef's kiss. It was beautiful. When Jalen rolled out, there was somebody shadowing him on the sideline, and it was like, no, you're either going to go, I'm turning you upfield so that you got to run into Fred, or you got to run out of bounds. Those
7 carries for 20 yards.
Amazing.
There's the one he got 7 yards around the left end. Couple of tush pushes, but they contained him throughout the entire game.